time to meet the maker, and today I'm talking to Stacey Smith of Oink Design. Stacey, hello. Hello. Tell me about your craft. Why and when did you start your business, and what your inspiration was behind starting to sell? And tell me the story behind your name. There's got to be a story behind Oink Design. It's basically the story of your business.
Well, I've been silversmithing for over 10 years now. I don't know roughly how long. But I know that my hallmark is due for renewal this year, which is a 10-year period. So I know it's over 10 years. I basically, from when I left school at 17, I studied full-time. Sorry, no, I studied part-time, should I say, while working full-time, and got my degree in building surveying when I was 30. So when you can study for 13 years and then all of a sudden it stops, you're like, what am I going to do with my time? So I then spent 3 years learning British Sign Language. And then after that, I was like, oh, what am I going to do now? So I saw a silversmithing class because I've always been crafty and creative and stuff like that. Saw an evening class for that, started that, got hooked, and the rest is history. So that's behind the silversmithing.
Yeah.
Oink Design. Through many of my careers, I've had quite a few. I used to have my own little children's gift shop in a little place called Royston in Hertfordshire. And while I was trying to think of a name for it, I woke up one night, wrote down the name Oink, woke up the next morning, looked at it and went, what? Couldn't think of a better name for it, so Oink stuck. So I had my little gift shop called Oink, and then my crafting business through other bits and pieces just went Oink Design. So, I don't mind pigs, but I'm not a big lover of them. So yeah, that's where Oink Design came from.
I like it. It's quirky. It's different. It stands out. I really like that Oink. Though I did assume you probably had a love of pigs.
When I was having my shop and I was opening it up and I'm like, Oink will be opening soon, and it was a tiny little shop, people thought I was going to do pig farming in the shop. Yeah.
Oh, I like
that
it.
Is Oink. And then obviously I rescued a gosling back in the summer, which my friend reared, and that's where Oink the gosling comes from. So occasionally on my stories there might be, I've got Wonky at the moment, but there might be Oink the gosling. So yes, because they named him Oink after me because I rescued him.
Okay, so you've kind of introduced me to two questions I want to go with. So the first one is, tell us a little bit more about your living. I don't know, I'm struggling with how to phrase this, but living accommodation, because it's a huge part of who you are and your business and everything else. So tell me about that.
So I live on a 65-foot narrowboat called Simon de Montfort. He came with the name. I know boats are called she's, but because he's called Simon, I've always called him he. So I've been living afloat now for over 20 years. Would love to go back to land tomorrow. I think I've done my time on the narrowboat. But yeah, I'm on the River Lark in Cambridgeshire. I'm surrounded by wildlife. I hand feed the swans and the geese, and haven't quite managed to hand feed the otters yet. As soon as they see me, they run. But yeah, everything else, it's just, so during lockdown, I think I lived in the best place ever because there was no one around. It was peaceful and quiet. So I think I was extremely lucky during the first lockdown.
See, it sounds so idyllic. It sounds absolutely amazing. I bet everybody wants to
Everybody wants to live the Rosie and Jim lifestyle. But I won't ruin it by telling you the truth.
So how does that work with your working arrangements? Where do you create? Where do you do that?
So currently I'm sitting in my little workroom, which when I bought Simon, where I'm sitting at the moment was actually 2 lots of bunk beds. I'm surrounded by the freezer and the washing machine. So this is the workshop come utility room. I'm sitting right by the back doors, so it's nice in the summer because I can have them open so it doesn't get too hot in here. But obviously in the winter it does get a bit cold. So when you're trying to solder in the winter in a cold room, yeah, it's a bit tricky.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Do you manage to go out and kind of work outside as well on
outside in the summer? Yeah, I mean we built ourselves a little pontoon. I mean I could take you outside and show you a little look around. Would you like that?
We could do, yeah. That sounds lovely.
Let's go and have a little look around.
Completely off on tangent, nothing to do with business.
Completely off on.
Why not? It's all part of you and how you live in your brand.
So this is
wow.
Us. So this behind me is where I sit in the summer and I kind of like work. There is not many. Oh, hello, Wonky. Wonky has arrived.
Oh, did Wonky hear your voice?
Wonky can hear my voice. Hello, Wonky. Yeah. So I'm going in because it's cold and it's windy.
It looks lovely though. Wow. You really are on your own out there.
It is. And there's not that many liveaboards here. So we've got a few neighbours and everyone just keeps an eye on everyone else. So yes, it's a good community.
Oh, fascinating. And such a different, from my perspective, it's not from you. For you, it's completely normal. But for me, it's a different place to run your business from. So I absolutely love it.
I think when I moved on sort of like over 20 years ago, it was very much like, you're doing what? Hang on, what? And, everyone, family and friends were very worried about me. I mean, there are reasons I moved onto a narrowboat and I won't go into those now. But it was, it was a means to an end. And now, like my nephews and that who have grown up to just knowing that Auntie Stacey lives on a boat, it's just normal for them. Yeah.
I think it's lovely. Right, should we come back to talking business though? So in your introduction, you mentioned having a hallmark because you're coming up your 10-year anniversary. Talk to me about why you need a hallmark. Why is that important to you in your business?
So anything that is over a particular weight, depending on what metal it is, if it's over a certain weight, it has to be hallmarked. So that means sending it off to an assay office, which there are, I think, 3 in the UK: London, Birmingham and Sheffield, I think. And they assess every piece. There could be Glasgow. I don't know. I mean, that's miles away from me.
I think there's a Scottish one. I think there is.
I think there is. Yeah. I mean, I know my 2 local ones are sort of like London and Birmingham. And I'm registered with the London one, so I've got a panther as their thingy, like. So they assess every piece. So I mean, I could get a piece of plasticine, and I could hand stamp it 925. Yeah. That means diddly squat. If it hasn't got all the other assay marks on it, so people can like buy something and go, look, but it's stamped 925, and I'm like. It's got to have all the other assay marks on it for you to go, it is genuine. I mean, I've done a repair for a lady on a bracelet she was like, oh yeah, it's stamped 925, and I'm like, well, there's no other marks. And she's like, well, for the money I paid for it, she goes, it's going to be sterling silver. And I was like, well, look, it's already broken, I can't do anything more to it. Do you want me to try and repair it? And she was like, yes. And I watched it melt in front of my eyes because it wasn't sterling silver. So I was like, So lucky enough, the rest of the bracelet that was there, the bangle cuff, I managed to convert into a necklace for her or something, so she wasn't completely lost. Oh, yeah.
So does that mean every single piece that you make has to be sent off to the assay office for them to check it and validate it?
Only if it's over a certain weight. So I think silver is 7.8 grams. Okay. And technically, if you have something on your stall that weighs more than that, it's not hallmarked, and you're advertising it as sterling silver, you can be fined for that. You can also be fined as a jeweler for not advertising the hallmark thing as well. You can be fined £1,000 for not having that on your stall somewhere.
Wow. So when we're looking for things, we'll come back to your business in a second, but when we're looking for things to check that they're hallmarked properly, what are we looking for? So we've got the 925.
The 925 or the whatever it is for gold, blah, blah, blah. You'd have a maker's mark which would either be generally 2 or 3 initials in a little shield type thing.
So what's yours? What does yours look like?
Mine's SDS because my name's Stacey Dawn Smith. So I could quickly, if I find a piece of paper, I could quickly kind of like draw mine so everyone knows what mine looks like. Don't know whether.
Yes. Okay.
That way. Yeah.
I can see that.
Then you would have the assay office hallmark. So like I said, London is a panther. Birmingham is an anchor.
Yeah.
I think Sheffield, I think, is a castle or something. Or would that be Glasgow? I don't know. Then you would also have the year as well. So this year's letter is W.
Right.
So every year they change that so they can assess what year it was hallmarked. So not just the W will change, the little shield around it will change as well.
Oh, fascinating. See, I know about hallmarks, but I didn't realise that you had all the different ones that you had to.
Yeah, and most people realise that, it's stamped 925, it's fine. And it's like, I try and educate people of the fact of like, no, you've seriously got to look into it.
It shows how seriously you take your business, though, because you've done your research, you found out about that at the very beginning, you learned about that at the very beginning, and then how much of an investment is that for you to actually get set up and to even be able to do a hallmark? Is it time? Is it money? What does that take when you first set it up?
You apply to the assay office with all like your credentials, and so I had to have my college tutor help me apply and everything else. Then you pay, I can't remember what it was 10 years ago, but you pay a really big fee to have your stamp made, and you get different size stamps. So because I do small things, I've gone for the smaller stamp. If I wanted to make slightly larger stuff, I'd need a bigger stamp, and then that's another outlay. So every size stamp you have, it's another outlay. And then you pay to have the hallmark for 10 years. I mean, that hallmark is always yours.
Right.
So no one else will ever have that hallmark.
So it will, or anybody who sees that could look it up and reference, go, oh, Stacey made that.
Yeah. And even if so, after 10 years, I decide I don't want to make silver anymore, no one else can have that hallmark. That one is mine. Fantastic. So then you apply, then you just pay the renewal fee for every 10 years. And then it costs you money to obviously send it off to the assay office and get things hallmarked. I mean, the more you send off, it is. Yeah. And then so if I want to send something off, I've got to allow the cost for it to get to the assay office to test it. And how they test it, because I went and had a tour around there, they take a little scraping. I mean, you can't even see where they've taken the scraping off. And they test it. Everything is tested. So yeah, and then obviously they do all the hallmarks and they bundle it up and they send it back to you, and then you've got to finish it and clean it. So I like to allow a 2-week process to do the whole thing from hallmarking.
Wow. So
if you want to send off like one piece to be hallmarked, so you've got the postage cost to get it there, then it's something like for one piece £25 or something.
Yeah.
And then the cost back.
Adds up.
So that's why you then can try and send things. I try and send off 20 things at a time, just to bring the cost down to about £6.
Right. Okay. So yeah, that makes a big difference. Wow. Yeah. So it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think quite often when you've got a customer who's buying from a small business owner, they don't think of all this stuff going on in the background. But the fact that you've had to commit to it and outlay all of that before you've even started, it's massive.
Especially with the cost of silver and that as well. Yeah, it's a big outlay.
It is a big outlay, but it shows how much you love what you do, how important what you do is, and how you want to do it properly. Because you say anybody could kind of label anything and stick a 925 stamp on it, but it doesn't actually mean anything.
No. My friend does a lot of polymer clay. So we actually got her to stamp one of her polymer clay bears on his bottom with 925, just so I could say to people, but look, that's not silver. So yeah, because I think obviously sometimes people just don't understand it unless it is visual. I'm one of those.
So can you remember your first sale, the very first thing that you sold?
No. I remember a lot of the first things that I made, but not. My mum's got one of the very first chain bracelets I've made. I keep all of my very first bangles that I made. So when I am bangled up, I'm kind of like bangled up because I've got quite a few. And people go, I like that one. I went, yeah, that's mine. But no, not. I don't even remember the very first fair that I done. I know that my stall layout has changed over the years quite a lot as you progress.
Yeah.
But yeah, and obviously my biggest fan is my mum. So she's at most shows with me. So if you ever come and see me at a show, you'll be introduced to Mummy Oink. So because she's always there. And my little group that we go out to craft fairs with, my mum knows how to run their stores as well. So when they go off to go and have a tea break, she'll run their stores as well. So yeah, everyone knows her as Mummy.
I love that. So which brings me actually to my next question, which is, where do you sell? You obviously sell at events and fairs. Are they the main places that you sell from, or do you do online as well?
I have an online shop on Folksy, and I'm currently in the process of getting a new website built for me, which will have e-commerce on it. So at some point I'll probably get rid of Folksy and just sell directly on my site, but mainly fairs. And I probably travel, so I'm in Cambridgeshire, I'll probably travel an hour to a fair or somewhere, or I'll probably an hour from Royston where my mum lives, because then I crash at hers. So I kind of like do travel about. I like to stay local. I do like a lot of the local farmers markets and things. But then I also do some of the big county fairs as well. But obviously they've been a bit
this year is well, the last year and this year is a bit for events, isn't it, with COVID and lockdowns, as we're talking in January 2021. So forgetting all of that for the minute, forgetting that events are all not happening, why do you like doing events so much? What is it about events that you like?
The meeting the people, the talking to people, explaining. So I'll often on my stall, I'll have like a little setup where I'm actually working on my stall. Obviously I can't solder and do things like that, so I'll prep things at home, and then I'll sit there and I'll do filing and buffing and polishing, perhaps cutting out something. So like this little, he needs a lot of work doing to him, this little owl. So they're the sort of things that I'll sit and I'll work on, so people can actually see that you are making, you're not actually bringing it all in from China, it is all yours. And then I can sit and I can talk to people and then explain like the hallmarking process, and just try and educate people also on what they should be looking for, so not to get ripped off. So that's why I love, and obviously the little community that I've got, you know, there's about 4 of us that all do the same fairs, and we always ask to be next door to each other. And so yeah, it's a nice little family. I mean, the early mornings and setting up, and you know, it's like yeah.
But they work well for you. How do you pick the right fairs and the right events to do? Obviously you're doing it with other people, but how do you go, yeah, that's a good one to do?
I always say to, like, if new people are starting out, I always say to them, you always need to do a fair twice, because the first one you could do it and it could be, but the second one could be really great, and vice versa. If you do it twice and both are, then you know to knock it on the head. It's also talking to other people. So because me and my little collective of friends, we all do completely different stuff, we know the audiences that are out there, and can I say, oh, that one would be really good for you, or that one would be good for you, and that one don't do it because it's not good. It's just years of experience of knowing which ones to do for you. And you know, this year I kind of like I risked doing a big fair at Ely Christmas Cathedral one, which costs like quite a lot of money. I mean, in my books, it's cost quite a lot of money because I'm only a small business. It was something like £400 for 3 days.
That's again, you've got to trust that you're going to make the sales to cover that back, haven't you? Because that's a big
and if
amount.
you're there for 4 days, you've got to make a lot of stock. So I spent all summer making stock, like 20 pairs of that earrings, 20 pairs of that, 20 bangles, and then obviously it got cancelled. So I mean, in one breath I was relieved that it got cancelled, because I didn't want my first one to be a COVID one. I wanted to experience the whole proper thing. Yeah. On the next trip, I was like, well, I haven't got to make anything, have I, for the next year? Because I've got it all now. So yeah, so I'll apply for that one again next year and see. But you've just got to basically just make notes of every fair that you go to, what you sell, what the clients are like, and just really keep it all.
Because there's a lot of factors involved, isn't there? It depends how the event organizer, how good they are at marketing, and the type of people that they want to attract and they're bringing in. You've got to make sure that they're the people who want to buy jewellery, who for you.
Yeah. I mean, I found like some people said, oh, yes, come and sell with us because look at our Instagram. We've got so many followers and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, they are all over Instagram. But Instagram is worldwide. Doesn't mean that people are actually going to visit that actual fair.
Yeah.
So you've got to look at, where they're advertising and who their followers are and stuff. God, I sound like I know what I'm doing.
You do know what you're doing. Oh, dear. So how do you find folksy?
For me, very hit and miss. I mean, I did a comparison quite a few years ago where I had my Etsy shop and I had my folksy shop, and I run them both side by side. And folksy did better for me than Etsy, so I got rid of my Etsy shop. But I do find with jewelry, it's a very tactile piece. It's a very, like, a lot of people will come out and go, and they'll buy something and go, oh, I didn't really mean to buy that for me, but it's so lovely, I want it. Whereas if they're looking online, they can just keep on scrolling through.
Yeah.
So for me, personally, online doesn't really work. I've got to be out there talking to people, let them see it, let them feel it, everything else.
It comes back to that know, like, trust factor. And for you, the events and the fairs work really, really well with that's your preferred way of doing it. They really do get to know you, like you, and trust you straight away.
I mean, it would be nice to sell a lot more online because then I wouldn't have like the early mornings to get up for the fairs. And I think like 2 years ago when I did Triplo, which was in March, there was heavy, heavy snow. And I've got a picture somewhere, which I will be posting on my social media at some point, of me and my friend wrapped up completely and then with blankets tied around us with big market clips to keep the blankets up because we were so cold. Most
makers go into business because they love their craft. They want to spend their time being creative. But actually, in order to sell, in order to run a business, whether it's online or at events, you need to do the marketing. So marketing, do you love it or hate it?
Hate it.
Why? What is it you don't like?
Didn't even have to think about that, did I? One of the reasons why I started to sell was because I was making, and then it's like there are only so many earrings I can wear. There are only so many bangles I can wear.
Yeah.
So, and then people kept saying, "Oh, can you make that for me? Can you make?" And I was like, "Oh, people quite like it, so I might as well make and sell." So for me, it's always just been a hobby. But now I've decided I want to take it further. I'd like to give up the day job and do this full time. But marketing is, I couldn't even explain. I just
is that the other reason you like events, actually? Because events are you're going to a specific place where other people have been invited to come and they know they're coming to look at stalls where they are going to things they like to buy. So it's a different kind of, your marketing is actually finding the right events and then the people come to you. Okay, interesting. It is.
As much as I'm on, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Folksy, I'm on Twitter, but the amount of sales I get from those very, very slim compared to when I go to a market and people can actually meet me and realise how crazy I am because I'm trying to be quite sensible today.
Don't be sensible. It's fine. Just be you. Oh, it's interesting. It's interesting how it is. There's different. I mean, I'm sure that and I say we because I know that we're working together where I can help you with your marketing online, will make that work and can translate what you do offline into online. But it is interesting just to make the note that there's no right nor wrong way to market your business other than as long as you're getting the sales. But it's about finding what's comfortable for you and what works for you. And as much as getting up early and those cold days are not things that you enjoy, actually, as a process, it's the right process for you in many ways, other than right now, as all the events have been cancelled.
I mean, it's very much like, you wouldn't, unless you know the smell of a perfume, you wouldn't buy a perfume online.
Yeah.
And I find that sometimes jewelry can be very much, unless you know the product, you know, unless you know some of the big high street brands, so you're happy to know their product. So people that have bought from me at fairs know my stuff, will buy from me online. Yeah. It's just trying to find the new people.
That initial confidence, isn't it, of that first purchase online?
Mm.
So what do you love the most about running your business?
Well, compared to working for somebody else?
Yeah.
Not having to set an alarm clock.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, I had to set an alarm clock this morning because I knew I was coming to talk to you. If not, I could probably still been snoozing.
So are you you'd rather carry on working later to get everything done rather than get up earlier? Is that your style?
I'm more creative later on than I am. I don't do well having to get up to an alarm clock and everything else, just purely because of the chronic illness that I have. It just doesn't work for me. Yeah. So I kind of like the whole idea of working for myself rather than somebody else is that I can adapt my lifestyle to suit my health.
Yeah, that flexibility and that freedom to fit around what you need it to fit around.
Yeah, and also I'm kind of like I'm not rude, but I can be quite outspoken at work. And if I'm not happy about something, I will say it. So sometimes I'm better off just working for myself.
Oh, I like that. Oh dear. So where do you get your inspiration for your new designs?
I come into the workshop. I'm not one of those jewelers that sits and does a lovely sketch and then goes, oh, I'm going to replicate that. I come in, I get some silver, I get some wire, and I see what happens. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I'm not the conventional silversmith.
Yeah, I like that.
I come in, I create, and we see what happens. Hence why a lot of my pieces are one-offs.
That's exactly where I was about to go. So how many do you have specific designs that you recreate because they're really popular, but then have others which are just one-offs that you don't necessarily do multiples of?
It's some earrings and rings. I'll do multiples, so they can, so my earrings, but I might only have like 20 pairs of those that I've made, and then that'll be it. And some of my rings will be like in other available sizes, whereas some of them are like, no, that's it. Rings are quite tricky because someone says, oh, I like that one, but it's not in my size, and you know, I can't make all of the sizes. So I'm slowly into just trying to come up with an idea of how I can make a slightly adjustable ring, so it's made more in like a small, medium and large, but with the stones and everything else. So if someone likes it but it's a little bit too tight, I can then open it up on the store and make it fit them. So I'm looking at my brain is like constantly always like going, I go to bed with a notebook because
that's the creative in you. You can't help it. It's just there. But what's interesting,
like waking up that night going oink.
Yes. What's interesting from my perspective is that straight away you'll think about what you can do so you can sell it on at an event. And that was what went through your head as the first idea. So you that is your natural place. That is where you enjoy selling, as much as the early morning and the cold might not be ideal. Okay, so last question. You'll be relieved to know. If you could share just one tip for someone who's starting out, whether they're planning their own handmade business or a jewelry designing business, what would it be?
Do what makes you happy.
I like that.
It's like going to work, and unless you're one of those really lucky people that enjoys their job, you know, we just do it. We come home, blah, blah, blah. So if you're going to set up your business, which won't be 9 to 5 because you're working for yourself, you don't ever shut off from running your own business. You're just constantly thinking it. So it's got to be something that you enjoy, you're passionate about. That would be it. And just go with it. Don't listen to what anybody else, if somebody's putting you down or whatever, it's probably going to be jealousy. Unless they're one of your true friends that are telling you honestly, it's going to be jealousy.
Yeah, exactly. It really is that you do actually have to enjoy what it is that you're doing. And I apologise, my printer has just started printing, so you can hear random noises.
I don't know if you can hear it, but I've got a I've got one of the big American planes going overhead now as well.
Oh, between us, we're so professional here.
Yeah.
No, I just to echo what you've been saying, that actually doing something you enjoy comes down to the marketing side as well as the actual business. That if you don't enjoy a platform, you're not going to use it properly. You're not going to make the most of it, which is why events work for you, because even though there's little elements and niggles that might not be your favorites, you've created them so they work for you. You've got your mum going with you. You've got a community there with you, that actually all the pros are so much more than the negatives. So that goes to the whole business, whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's your mates and your marketing. Thank you so much, Stacey. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Well, my printer hasn't been working properly, and I think it's suddenly spouting out all of those documents that we've all been
documents from 3 weeks ago.
I think it's gone a bit crazy, but I think that's a perfect time to end this. Thank you again. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Bye.